So here, I'll start. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for another edition of our weekly real estate backstory. We do this every Monday morning around 9 o'clock. Just kind of start you off with the week, the comings and goings, the things happening in the real estate world. My name is Alan Richardson. I'm the managing broker here at Maximum One Realty and Realtor Partners.
My name is Bing Richardson, the compliance broker for Maximum One Realty and Realtor Partners.
And we kind of want to start off like today is Columbus Day, right? And so Columbus Day is also known as Indigenous Peoples Day. But it depends on where you live. And so overall, this is a federal holiday. And so it's one of the 11 official federal holidays, which means that federal workers get days off, no mail runs. Some banks are around and not, and a lot of the banks are open. A lot of U.S. Treasuries won't trade, but the stock market will. And so what I'm going to share with you here, this is the map of the United States. So you can see that in Georgia, we celebrate. Thank you for that. We celebrate Columbus Day along with about 15 other states. Some states celebrate something else. Some states do Indigenous Peoples Day. It just, again, like I said, it just kind of depends, but you may be off. You may not be, kind of thing. So it just kind of depends on what's going on. It's one of the most flexible federal holidays that there is out there. And I don't mean any disrespect in, as far as whether it's Indigenous people, Columbus Day, that kind of stuff. It's very easy to for folks to kind of get upset either way on that. So
in your state, you may or may not have a closing today because some of your banks may not open today.
Yeah. Now, one thing our podcast here, or podcast, video class, whatever you want to call it, we are mainly targeting and talking to real estate professionals. That's who this whole thing is focused on. And so one of the things I wanted to share with you was something that CoStar owns homes.com. And for the first time, they say that they're now the #2 portal. And so they beat realtor.com and Redfin on the most number of views. And so a lot of times we get asked by agents, where should I look at spending my marketing dollars? Where should I look at advertising? And so we're seeing where as far as in the portal wars, whether it's realtor.com, Zillow, Redfin, and Homes, Homes had been a distant fourth, and then CoStar bought them, and they've really kind of been increasing. And so they hit 100 million unique visitors in the month of September. And so they are kind of claiming a big victory in that they're hitting for Zillow. Now, I'm not I don't have any skin in the game. I don't own stock in any of these companies, and I don't have a vested interest in either one. But just as far as knowing where a lot of the traffic's coming, for a lot of realtors, one thing that I do want to kind of stress is that, have you checked to see if your homes.com profile is updated?
If not, this is a good time to do it.
Now's the time to do it. I mean, for years, make sure your Zillow profile is done. Make sure that your profile on Realtor, your Realtor.com profile. Make sure that your Georgia List website. Make sure you have a Google My Business. And now we're starting to say, make sure your homes.com account. Because the more prominent this this platform becomes, the more people, when they search for you, and folks search for us by first name, last name, real estate, this one will start coming up more and more often. So please make sure that your profile on homes.com is tight and right.
It doesn't hurt to update your profile at any time.
Now, we also want to talk briefly here about what's going on with the lawsuit, as well as kind of, there's been all sorts of conversations dealing with NAR's rules for buyer commissions and that kind of stuff. And so even this past week, NAR clarified their rules. And so in where these big lawsuits have come up is in some states, you had the ability to dictate that a buyer's commission or
a co-op agent is required by the seller.
Yeah, and in some states it was required to be of equal percentages and things like that. Now Georgia, one of the reasons why Georgia's
not even in a race.
Yeah, well, it's because in Georgia you've always been able to not offer buyer's cooperation, buyer's compensation. I don't think it's smart, but that's kind of been where this whole thing with the lawsuit is. Now at the same time, we're seeing where Anywhere, who's one of the largest, probably the largest brokerage firms. They own a bunch of different firms, and RE/MAX have both settled out of court on this case. And at the same time, NAR changed the rules. And so, NAR's saying, look, you don't have to guarantee that. And that's a big change for them.
Yeah, what they originally stated, which was it was required.
Yeah, because I think the way that, and the fact that you're going to force somebody to, that's where the lawsuit really comes up.
Correct.
And so at the same time, Redfin came out and said, you know what, we're leaving NAR. RE/MAX said, we're not going to leave NAR, but we're not going to require everyone to be a member of it, kind of thing. And same thing with Anywhere. They're not going to require a membership.
Have choice whether or not they want to be a board member, a realtor, or just a real estate agent.
But let me kind of urge some caution here.
Absolutely.
Like we have, NAR does a lot for us. Like the reason that we go to days at the Capitol is because of GAR, and NAR has a lot of pull. And having a trade organization that's looking out for the best interests of personal property rights, as well as realtors out there, that's a really, really big deal. There's also a ton of education that kind of goes along with it. A lot of folks want to kind of crack on NAR, but even though I disagree with their with how they did it, but the fact is look, who was the entity that was out there trying to protect buyer agent commissions? NAR was.
Right.
And so like there's so much talk going on the internet.
Yeah, sometimes legislation will pass a law underneath another one in reference to housing. Like a while back in 2008 or 9, they were trying to pass a bill that says that if your HVAC is this age, and seller's required to replace a HVAC. That was actually rejected by the, because the lobbyists for the NAR caught it. And not only that, a while back too, when the HOA letter was ridiculous, like $3,000 just to get the letter. If you want to expedite it, that was another $1,000. So there's no reason for stuff like that. So NAR is the lobbyists for NAR, the RPAC, is there to help our industry to make sure our consumer and our seller have equal rights in transactions. So,
but the fact is that this is an entity that's been out here trying to protect agents, trying to protect our best interests. Now, I disagree with how they did it. I don't think that, just my core belief is that you don't force people to do that. And I don't believe in forcing anyone to do that. I think that you have to earn it and do a good job. But, what other entity has been out there trying to protect agent commissions? Well, NAR has been. And so I don't feel like any organization is perfect. I know NAR has a lot of problems right now. They have some sexual harassment complaints going on. And so I'm not like just trying to shove my head underneath the sand here. But by the same token,
we believe in correcting what was incorrect. But at the same time, we also believe endorsing what is helpful to our industry.
So moving on. So there was a new study out and said, and they went out and polled buyers and said, this is a share of home buyers who said home buying is more stressful than
buying a car.
First of all, it's more stressful than buying a car. And would I agree with that? Yeah, it is.
It is.
Yep. They also say it's more stressful than potty training a child. Yeah, well, I don't know. Depends on how much they pee around your house, right? More stressful than dating? I don't know. That one's a questionable one right there. I think that that's one where we could do a lot more advertising about and clarifying. No, it's not about dating, but like I don't think it's more difficult than dating. More difficult than getting into college. I really don't believe that. We have a daughter going through it right now.
Honestly, it's all about this. So based on this result, it tells me that we're probably need to do a better education with our client and let our client know, stop listening to all these other people that it just won't give their opinions. Let's talk about facts and numbers.
43% of buyers said buying a home is more stressful than getting a divorce. And I just like that floors me right there. So yeah, this is about communication. Is there a lot of moving parts? Yes. That's why you hire a professional. That's what we're here for. But it's not more difficult than getting a divorce. And no, We're not planning on getting a divorce. Are we?
No.
Okay, let's check. All right. Now, also, this is in the state of Georgia. There is 1 week where there's 11% more listings than average, 17% more than the beginning of the year. There's 18% less competition, and average savings about $15,000. And guess what? That's this week. This
Yep.
is this week
This
of
is the best week,
this
y'all.
is the best week to buy. So if you can get one of your clients under contract, please get out there and hustle with them, work with them right now. One thing that worries me right now, and we're going to talk about interest rates here in just a moment, but like, you know, our interest rates a damper to our market? Absolutely. There's just no doubt. But in the past week, I've heard 4 or 5 agents who kind of have this, oh, well, I'm just going to give up, or not just give up, but like, I'm just going to wait. It's going to be a while. I'm not really going to engage. That's the wrong deal. Like, this is the best week to buy. Why we should be out shouting this from the rooftops here about, you know, look, this is the best week to buy. So now what we're seeing is property values. And so this is property value appreciation from CoreLogic, and shows that year over year, we're running nationwide about 3.7%. We're running closer to 6 here in Georgia. And they're forecasting that for the year, it's going to finish out at about 3.4%. And you can see that overall, you know, the redder the states, the greater the value, property value increase. And so Georgia, we're right at about 6% property value increase year over year. And so that's really good. As a matter of fact, in the past just 1 month, you know, property values increased by 0.8. And like 0.8 may not seem much, but when you add that up 12 times a year, well, that kind of adds up pretty quickly there.
And for those buyers, I understand the interest rate is still high. The fact is, the longer you wait, the longer the appreciation of value of property. So
there's a lot of folks who like say, well, what goes up must come down. Well, they haven't looked at property values for the last 50 years. Property values have appreciated by 4.4% for the last 50 years. And so
on average.
And so, you know, does that mean that we don't have a down year here and there? I mean, remember 2006, there's down years.
So
yeah. But who wouldn't have loved to have bought a house at the peak in 2006? Because guess what you'd be sitting on right now? Tons of equity, right? You'd be in really great shape. So, you know, that old adage of what goes up must come down does not apply to property values.
It does not in the long term, but in short terms, there fluctuation. Absolutely.
Yep. Now, you know, they released a study talking about the markets that are considered overvalued. And guess where Atlanta comes in? Not. Okay. You know, like there are some markets, mainly in California, West Coast, that kind of stuff. Some of the New England markets that where they're still showing as being overvalued, but Atlanta is not considered overvalued. Now, for those of us that live here, seeing what property values have done over the past couple of years, it's very easy to think, gosh, we have to be overvalued.
Correct.
When you compare us to the nation, we're very, very modest. Like we're still a great, that's why more people come to here from New York and California than any other state, because we are a great value.
Correct.
So payrolls jumped by 336,000, and everyone was expecting it to be kind of this slowdown. And really what's happening is job openings kind of bounce back up, and the labor market is really tight. And so you can see that you know, the unemployment rate, you know, this year versus last year, it's still really, and so labor is really, really tight. Well, the reason I'm talking about labor is because all the labor data this week, there's about 4 different data points dealing with labor that all came out this past week. And see, the markets pay really close attention to that, and especially the treasuries market, because the treasury market, that's the market that affects interest rates.
Right.
And so with everyone was expecting, you know, with the Fed raising the federal interest rates, the federal rates, that it was going to result in less hiring, in a slowdown on hiring, and an increase in unemployment. They were looking for all those kind of factors, and it did the exact opposite. And when it did the exact opposite, guess what happened to interest rates? They went up. And so we're sitting at about 7.5 right now. And you know, there's a lot of folks who said, you know, years ago, like, well, 3% is the new norm. No, it ain't.
No, it's not. Never has.
And so, you know, 7.5 is where we're at right now.
3% was the bank was getting 0 interest loan, so they can turn right around and loan the money and make some profit.
Yeah.
That's never going to happen again.
But you know, there is a lot of pressure out there, and so this is one of the things that is causing people to pull back right now. 7.5 is a scary number for a lot of our buyers. As such, one thing that we're seeing right now is a huge interest in adjustable rate mortgages. ARMs, are increasing. The
Correct.
percentage of loans that are ARMs right now is the highest we've seen since 2006. And so, an adjustable rate mortgage is scary on one hand. It may make sense in certain instances. Now,
Or short term.
overall, adjustable rate mortgages make up less than 10% of the market, but still 1 out of 10 borrowers is getting an adjustable rate mortgage.
And that's where they're gambling, so to speak, that the interest rate will come down during election year next year. So therefore they can refi next year.
Well, and so, with your ARMs, we need to be able to speak intelligently about ARMs, because there's a lot of folks who's like, immediately an adjustable rate mortgage is just a horrible idea. It's a bad idea. You shouldn't do it. And while I am a big believer in a fixed rate mortgage, for sure, I definitely would definitely prefer. Whoops, helps if I stay where I'm at. I'm a big fan of adjustable rate mortgages. I think they are very important. And I think that's the reason why we see so much stability in the United States market. Is like a lot of these foreign markets, like take England and a lot of Europe, all their mortgages are adjustable rate mortgages.
Right.
And with all the feds in all these countries raising those rates, well, all mortgage payments for all these folks in these other countries, and they're
no longer affordable.
Yeah, and it's caused a big slowdown in their housing market. And not that we haven't had a slowdown housing in the number, but they're seeing a slowdown in number, as well as they're seeing property values that are suffering. So I do believe that fixed rate mortgages definitely hit that. But does that mean that there's no place for an adjustable rate mortgage for your clients where this might be the right choice? Just understand that they need to speak to their lender, because there are instances where the ARMs do make sense. And right now they're running about a point less. And so that equates, 1%, that equates to a pretty significant saving on there. And so, we're seeing that there's a lot of different mortgage products out there, that kind of stuff. FHA is better than our 30-year fixed at the moment, which is one of the reasons why we're seeing more people go towards FHA. But just understand that it's not just, when you see that number out there, it's not always that's the number they're going for, because we do have some folks that are doing 2-1 buy downs, 3-2-1 buy downs, ARMs, FHAs. There's a lot of products going out there, and finding the right product that matches up with the right borrower really comes down to that having that right lender partner.
And the borrow is all circumstantial, meaning credit. Meaning whether or not they have money in the bank to put down to buy down the rates.
Well,
so that all these make a difference in what their situation is, whether or not they're going to be in Atlanta for a short-term period or long-term period. So these are conversations they need to have with the lender.
Right. And one thing we're seeing is that more mortgage applications are being rejected right now for insufficient income. Really, what that comes down to is not necessarily insufficient income. It's debt to income, their DTI. And so how much debt are they carrying? Because we're seeing where more and more Americans have been subsidizing their lifestyle with credit card debt and other types of debt. And so those kind of things are hurting their ability to be able to apply to qualify for a home. Now, the other thing that we're seeing going on right now is as interest rates change, that affects the buying power of our buyers. And so, like if let's say you got quoted 6.5 a few months ago, well, now we're at 7.5. That's a pretty significant change in payment. And so maybe that person who was qualified for 400, maybe he's only qualified for 375 right now. So, and what we're really seeing here right now with the rise in interest rates, please don't think that rising interest rates means that there is not a demand for housing. There is a big demand. There's a ton of demand. What we're seeing is that it's changing pricing expectations. Like, I can't afford that $370,000 or that $400,000 house. I can afford a $350,000 house. We're seeing where our consumers are becoming much more price conscious. We're seeing properties that are, depending on the price point, we're seeing where a lot more inventory is showing up in higher value properties. And for our entry-level properties, we're seeing a lot of competition going on for that right there. So right now our pending sales are down about 13% year over year. And our active listings. Now, one of the good things that we're seeing right now is even though active listings for some, our total active listings are down, they're starting to trend in a more positive manner. And a matter of fact, our new listings are trending up, and we need that because more inventory is really going to help our market out a lot.
Absolutely.
That will cause some fluctuations in property values, that kind of stuff, because the more supply we have, based on the demand we have, means that we're going to be seeing flattening pricing on there kind of thing moving forward. So all that being said, almost 40% of our pending sales happened within 2 weeks.
So we're still moving. So if it's priced correctly.
Good properties in good areas in good condition, guess what? They're going fast. They're still going fast. Don't think that those kind of things are not changing. Now, at the same time, more properties than just about ever before are seeing price reduction. So for those sellers who are putting out properties as let's just try this price, guess what they're having to do? They're having to drop it. They're having to reduce those values.
And coming out of the gate and not and be disappointed, price it correctly. Listen to your agents, because I think a lot of sellers sometimes don't listen to your agent. The agent, you got to make a case and show the seller the facts, and sometimes know the improvement are for their own personal desire, but does not net equal to exactly the amount that they put in.
Yeah, good point. All right, now our national rent for rents are down, and rents. Well, one thing about September though is September, data is always a little bit slower in coming, but September rents are traditionally down. They're normally down anyway. But all that being said, what you're looking at is we're still seeing where overall national rent pricing is down nationwide about 1.2%. And by the way, that's the same as Atlanta. Atlanta and Georgia, overall rents is down little over 1%.
At one point they were going crazy. I mean,
but this is another, an economics lesson in supply versus demand. What have we been building, especially here in the Sun Belt over the last 7 or 8 years?
right.
Apartments out in the yin yang, right? Well, I mean, there's just every time you drive around and turn a corner, there's another apartment complex there. And so supply versus demand. All of a sudden we have more supply, therefore, that's greater than demand. And so we're seeing where pricing is coming down. Now, one of the things that's kind of good that's going on right now is we're finally seeing where the CPI of rent is actually starting to decline, because that's going to be one of those things that when we start looking at economic factors for where inflation really comes, inflation numbers for rent are a year behind. And so we're going to start seeing these numbers come down, which should actually help to drive overall inflation down even more. Now, if you like us here, consider you can now find Real Estate Backstory as a podcast also. And so we're on Amazon Music, we're on Apple iTunes, the whole 9 yards. So consider joining us in there if you can't make it on these.
Or if you just drive about and you don't have time to watch us, listen to us while you're on the road.
Still hear us yak, exactly. Now this week, tomorrow, we have our monthly sales meeting that's going to be in person in all of our partners' offices. On Wednesday, I'm going to be teaching Making Money with Real Estate Investing. That's going to be over in our Fayetteville office. Please, if you want to be an investor or work with investors, this is the class designed for that. And then on Thursday,
Martin is teaching license laws for agents and broker in Conyers' office. So please join him. He's a good teacher.
He is an amazing teacher. Absolutely. So hope you guys are set up and have a great week. If we can be of any kind of service, please call, text, smoke signals. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a great Monday. Stay warm.
It ain't that cold.
It is cold in here.